Okay, so this algorithm, right? What we are going to and just now use study is basically designed and for classification, right? But you can use it for regression also, but best suited for classification. As always, we are going to define in the same way and with a story, obviously. So before that, let me quickly give you some introduction. So basically, SVM is a supervised algorithm, right? And there is something that I would just want to put a tail to this definition that separates data using hyperplanes. What are hyperplanes? What are hyperplanes? Anyone? What are hyperplanes? Hello, am I audible?
Like we have lines, we have planes to uh,
Ah,
like showcase endpoints.
okay,
Planes along the different axes like X, Y, Z axis.
okay. I'll tell you something. So let's say if we are talking about two-dimension space, right? Or let's start from one-dimensional space. So let's say one-dimensional means, for an example, you can take a single axis like X or Y, only one axis, right? So how is one axis separated from other if we have one dimension? By a point. Sorry, in one axis, if we have, how the different points, let's say this is, all the points are in single axis, either this side or vertically also you can draw. So I can draw a point and that can separate half of the point and half of the point on the right. So point can separate all other points, yes or no, in one dimension, correct?
Right.
What about when we have two dimensions and this is how the points are? Can I separate all the points with just drawing one point?
No,
Then
No.
I'll have to draw a line.
line,
So for 2D, we need a line, right? What about 3D?
plane,
What about 3D? Yes. As someone said correctly, let's see if there is a third dimension, right? There, what we need to understand. So you understand this was a 2D. There are multiple such points. So for assumption, let's say the room that you are sitting currently, you can think of that as a three-dimensional space, right? In which your adjacent floor walls are x-axis and y-axis, and the wall which you can consider as your height. Okay, so your floor is x and y axis, length is x and breadth is, let's say, y, and your height is basically z axis. Okay, so this is a 3D space in which you are sitting. Assume that there are balloons, small balloons floating, correct? Small balloons which are floating. Okay, so you can consider the balloons as points. Got it? Now just assume that you have to separate all the balloons into two parts, however you want to separate. I just want you to separate all the balloons in two parts. How will you do? Can you do it with a line?
No.
You need a plane, correct?
Right.
Similarly, 4D, 5D, or ND. So usually as a human being, we are not able to visualize 4D, 5D, or n-dimensional space. For that, whatever separates these points, we call as hyperplane. You understand? Also, as a generalization, all the separation also we call as hyperplane. You got my point?
Yes.
Right? So obviously, see, like we say that square is also a rectangle. Yes or no? But individually, if we have to define, we define square and rectangle differently. But let's say if we have to say quadrilateral, we also say that. Yes or no? Similarly, just as a sweeping statement or an umbrella name, I'm giving to all the separation in all the dimensions, and I'm just giving one name, that is hyperplane. So when I'm saying hyperplane, you can think of it as a separator. Understood?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now you understood how the data is separated. I mean, what is hyperplane? Basically, till now we have only understood that. Okay, but till now we haven't defined what is support vector machine and what are support vectors in that. Why is it called like that? Okay, it has nothing to do with hyperplane. Obviously, hyperplane is not here in the name. So what does it mean? Okay, just give me 1 second, guys. Hello. Yeah. So till now, you know what is hyperplane. So hyperplane, if someone asks you, obviously you can think of it as a separator, right? But specifically, if you think in that way, hyperplane is basically for more than 3D, because till 3D we can separate by plane, line, and point, which is visible, right? After that, it is hyperplane. Now we are going to understand how SVM works, and then only we will come to know why the name support vector machines has been kept. Okay, so as always, what we are going to do is I'm going to tell you a story, okay, in which from that story you can derive the concept. Okay, now let's say for example, here I'm taking the example of two classes, okay, two groups. So on one side, right, on one side I have rabbits. So I'm just drawing, sorry, my drawing might be bad, but just consider. Okay, so let's say on one side I have rabbits, right, and on the other side, right, I have a lion, right? How to make the lion, right? So let's say this is the lion, right? So lion. So these are the two groups, right, that we have to separate, right? Now let's pretend that we have to build a fence, right? Let's say we have to build a fence, and you want to protect, and obviously rabbits are your rabbits, right? These are rabbits and these are lion, right? Now you understand this, that, or yeah, so let's say I have to protect the rabbit from the lion, okay, and I have to build a fence, right? So let's see if I'll build a fence. For that, what is the scenario and how to set up a fence? What is the thing that concept you always use when you build a fence? What is one thing that we always keep in mind while building a fence? If I have to protect my rabbit.
Line should not pass through the fence.
So in between that is the first criteria. What else?
Electric fence. Compound.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat like a height compound.
Yeah, what else? Think in some manner. So what is one thing? So you are building fence to keep your rabbit safe, but how will they be safe? what is one thing that you have to keep in mind while building the fence?
Height of the fence.
We have to separate rabbits and lions.
Separation is always, that is the reason you are building the fence, correct? What is one thing that you will, obviously you have to build the fence, but in what way you should build the fence that it is more useful?
And neither rabbit or lion can trespass from here to there and there to here.
Okay, you understand this? How I'll be telling you in the SVM way how it works, right? So you see, in between, you know, the lion group and your rabbit group, there are, you can see, yeah, these are the nearest point, right? Boundary points, correct? So there is a support vector that passes, or let's say there is a imaginary line you draw which goes touching the nearest rabbits. Similarly, parallel to this, you will build a imaginary line which goes through, passing through the nearest line. You got my point? These two are parallel. Okay. That is the maximum distance between the rabbit and the lion group is.
Yes.
Yes.
Then what I'll do is, if I have to build a fence, so I will build a fence which is exactly in between these two line, right? These two imaginary line or vectors that you can say, okay? So that this margin and this margin is maximum. Yes or no?
Right.
Yes.
Right? So for example, I am saying that basically these two lines you see. So let me now name it A, B, C. So A and C are my support vectors, right? Support vectors, right? And what is B? B is my decision boundary. Right? Correct? Which separates both the class, right? But you understand this, SVM works in a way that this margin at any given scenario, this margin needs to be maximum possible. Okay. Now let's say a new line appears here. Obviously, if it is in the right side of the decision boundary, you will consider this as a belonging from a lion class. If it comes this side, it will be from rabbit class. What if a new point appears here or here? What will happen? What will happen?
The support vectors would shift basically.
Huh? So this support vectors now, see, remember what was the concept of drawing the support vector?
Pass through all the points.
Pass through the closest 2 points. So let's say nearest point of rabbit is this, or nearest rabbit is here, and nearest lion is here. Now it is no longer here, it is more nearer. So the margin will become less, yes or no? So my another support vector, I don't want to draw here, so I'll draw it here. Let's say now it is more closer. So my first support vector and now second support vector. Obviously both needs to be parallel, correct? Yes or no? Because if it crosses each other, then there is no separation. So it needs to be parallel. Once you have established, so this is my new point, and earlier this was my support vector. This was my support vector. But what is my new support vector? This and this. You understood? Let's say you will say that only rabbit came or only lion came, right? So at least one support vector will shift closer. Yes, no?
Yes. Yes.
Then also then also, let's see, even if it was not shifting, then also the margin has changed in a way. Correct? Earlier the margin was this, even if one shifted, if two shifted, then it will become very less. Now, where will be my decision boundary line? Still, it is going to be in the middle of the support vectors, but the margin become less. Yes or no? Similarly, if my let's say line moved away or this moved away, then my margin becomes more wider. Understood what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So always remember that this support vector is just to help draw my decision boundary. And that is the reason this particular algorithm is known as support vector machines. So now you know what are support vectors.
Yes.
Okay, decision boundary is a separator, correct? So can we call it as a hyperplane?
Right.
So now you know what are support vectors, what is a decision boundary, why we call it as support vector machine, and how you can perceive as a hyperplane. Also, how SVM works, right? So all the time the aim is that the separation should be good. In classification, always remember that we are always in a hunt of finding a good separator, right? If we find a good separator and we don't have any confusion, right, correct, then that is the best way. Yes or no? Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's assume that a new point came here, right? A new point came here and a new rabbit came here, right? Now what will happen? Now my hyperplane will pass like this. Yes or no? That means it is not necessarily that it will be in this direction. It can be like this and parallel to that like this, correct? And then my decision boundary is going to be in this direction, in this way. And this is called the margin, right? Understood? Yes, no? Hello.
Yes, yes. Like the dotted line is called the support vector and the center line is called the
See,
decision
don't
boundary.
go after me. I will draw, I will confuse you. Sometimes I draw like this. So support vectors you can think of, sorry, I draw dotted line here and full line here. I mean, without dotted, I have drawn here. So do not go by that concept. You can consider here, right? So this is my decision boundary in green, okay? And in red, we have our support vectors, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, what I'm saying is in the same setup, if I talk about, okay, let me just copy everything, paste it here. Okay. And now I am just removing my support vectors. And since I have removed my support vector, then I'll also remove my decision boundary. Okay. Now let's assume that the point were like this. Okay. One rabbit here and like this. So now what is my support? Sorry. What is my support vector looking like this? And how is my this side support vector looks like? It won't pass. I mean, it will just touch like a tangent, right? And in between, obviously, I'll draw. See, margin is equal on both sides, correct? And that is the reason we are drawing the support vectors first, and then we are drawing the decision boundary. Got my point?
Yes.
Now you can say that Dhruv, it can be in that in this direction also. Yes, you can draw in this direction also. The only thing that you have to keep in mind that I want maximum margin, right? So maximum margin, wherever I'm getting, I'll use that direction. Okay. Got this point? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Now there is a concept right? For example, you said that Dhruv, we spoke about separation in 4-dimensional, 5 dimensions, 6 dimension, 7 dimension, n dimension, right? Why is it needed? Why is it needed? Hmm? Why is it needed? Okay, let me make it a bit complex at this scenario. You understood what is SVM, right? Now let me make it a bit complex. Okay. So what we are going to see is the heart of this, and everyone asked this question. It's called kernel trick. That is heart of this algorithm. Understand, it is going to be a bit mathematical and bit conceptual, and this is the reason people fear from this algorithm, but as always we are going to keep it very understanding and easy. Okay, so let's assume, first of all, I'll give you the transformation. So let's say there are points in 1-dimensional space. Let me draw it here. Okay, now let's say this is 1-dimensional space. I don't want to keep things dirty here, so let's call it X, correct? Now this is what, 0. Let's say this is what you can say, -2, -4, -6, -8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. ये कैसे हो गया? 2, 4, 6, 8 and this side. Okay, you got what I'm trying to say, right? Now let's assume that there are two classes. One I'll make as circle, another I'll make of another shape, right? So let's say, so 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, and another pen with let's say yellow color. I never used yellow. थोड़ा बड़ा ले लेते हैं, ठीक है? What I'll do is I'll make it like this, right? So this is another class. Okay, so this is another class. Understood? Okay, so this is 1-dimensional, right? I said that in 1 dimension, what you can do is you can separate from a point. Is both the class separable by a point?
No.
Even it is not linearly separable. Yes or no? If I tell you honestly, this is not linearly separable, right? So what we do as a part of kernel trick is, and I'll come to why is it called a kernel trick is, what we do is we transform it to higher feature space. So what we are going to do, we are going to apply a transformation. Very easy, very and everyone would be able to understand. What is the transformation I am making? I am making a transformation and I'm giving it 5. Okay, I'll use any other color. But before that, let me show you the transformation. So now I am just putting it into 2-dimensional space, X and Y. Okay, so let's say X and it will get separated. I'm just roughly making it. Okay, so roughly making. So let me draw a line 0 here. Okay, so it will be something like, okay, now I'll draw it here. Okay, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and rest your yellow color. Yeah. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. For example, right? Now is it separable? Yes, it is separable. So if you draw a hyperplane here, it is separable. Yes or no? One class is separated from other.
Yes.
What is the transformation we did? So see, if I would have gone from 2D to 3D, we are going to see that also. But for now, I just started with 1D and I have transformed it into 2D. How I transformed is, I have used the transformation phi x. Let's say I am naming it, this equation, as nothing what x square. So 0 is 0, -2 is -4. You understand? Sorry, -2 is 4, -3 is 9, like that. Okay. Now this is how it became. In positive side also, it squared into positive, and this is 0. Let's say this is 4, right? This is something like that. So in the scale you can think, right? Obviously it will go a bit more further, but you got the idea, right? If we do the square, each point is squared, obviously it will get linearly separable after this transformation. Yes or no?
Yes.
So can I write that after okay, no, before that, let me write that as, we can see that the points are not linearly separable. One dimension, right? But after applying the transformation, it became linearly separated. Yes or no? Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Basically a new feature, or new dimension added to our feature space. So basically this is our feature space. A new dimension was added to our feature space, and our class, or I mean these classes, two classes we had, became separable, linearly separable. Yes or no? Correct?
Yes.
Now, if somehow we get this function, I can just transform any given data set into higher dimensions, and I can separate that. Yes, no?
Correct.
Correct. Even now, I won't define the kernel trick. Let me just show you another example. Let's say if I have a different set of points, right? Let's say if I have a point which is again in one dimension, let's say like this. This is one class, right? And let's assume this is another class, right? Now you guys will tell me, is it linearly separable in this space?
No.
No.
Then I'll have to transform it into higher space.
Yes.
Correct. So what I'll do is, if you can see, there is a trend. Every second item is another class, right? So can I transform it in a way that, let's say, can I write x mod 2? What it will do? What does mod do?
Give reminder.
Give a reminder.
Huh? Give a reminder, right? So if it is 0, so let's say then it will be separable. All the event data will be on one side and all the odd data will be on one side. So let's say this, okay, and all the odd data is, okay. So let's say all the odd data on this side. Yes or no? Bolo yes, no, right? So in that way, you got an idea of how the transformation will happen from one space to another space. So obviously here also X and Y happen to be right. Here one dimension tha na. If you separate it, so this is obviously separated in another dimension. Yes or no?
Yes.
If you see in one dimension, it is not separated. If we introduce another dimension, then only it is separated, and that too with a separable function. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, the way what we can think of it is, let's say if any data set in this feature space is non-separable, it will get separated in higher dimension. You got this point, right? So in that way, kernel trick actually helps us, okay? So again, I'm repeating. So for example, let's say if in lower dimensions, so this is, let's say ND, this can be 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D, is non-separable, then I can just go to higher dimensions, n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3. I'm just, for example, I'm giving n plus 1D. Now, and obviously apply a transformation, right? So it will get separated in the feature, I mean, in the higher space, right? And I'll get my classes separated or classified.
Yes.
That is what the kernel trick does for you, right? So there are multiple kernels, right? So let's say there are RBF, radial basis function, RBF kernel, or there are polynomial kernel, right? So let's say if you want to apply, polynomial is what? Function which has, so if I talk about this, what is this? What type of function is this? What type of function is this? This is a linear function, right? This is kind of binomial. And if you talk about multiple, you can say x raised to power n, and that n can be anything, that you can perceive it as a polynomial. Poly means many, correct?
Yes.
Right? So now if you understand this, polynomial function itself tells you that you can take any order of the equation for separation. Okay, so that is the reason we use those functions as a separator in the higher dimension, right? And what is the kernel trick helps us to do? What problem kernel trick is helping to solve? Can someone repeat that for me?
Separation. Classes.
No, separation is fine, but separation anyways another algorithm were also doing, right? But here what is how kernel trick is helping? Kernel trick is helping, yeah, when it is non-separable in the current dimension, right? It becomes separable in the higher dimension, right? But it is easier if we see from one dimension to two dimension. But as a human being, it becomes very tough. Let's say if I talk about a three-dimensional equation, right? So x cube plus x square plus x plus 1. For example, let's say this type of equation, okay? Right? Now you understand, or let's say x cube plus xyz plus y square plus z cube, like that. You understand? Now there are three dimensions, right? Three dimensions. Also, you understand this. After this, you have to transform into further more dimensions. Is not it tough? Ask for you that what it does is it just checked for the separability, right? It will check for n different functions. Let's say it will start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at any point if it gets separated. Also, like other classification, here also we have error. So if you want to settle with a particular accuracy, particular error, you can go ahead and do that. Okay. So it is not necessary that all the 100% points needs to be separated. Obviously, if you keep on increasing the dimensions, at some point you may get 100% separation. But again, is that something you want? No. Complexity will increase. Yes or no?
Yes.
That means if, let's say, if I have 50 points, and if I just go to, if I happen to go to 50 dimensions, each point will be its own dimension, right? That is of no use for me, correct? Similarly, if you can relate it with what a decision tree, if we let my decision tree grow full, my each individual point will belong to one class and it will be 100% pure, but that purity of no use because that contains only one point. And I'm sure that if there is one point in a basket, then that basket, you can call it of one color. But in reality, what is it? Since it contains only one point, that is the reason we are defining it as one point. You got my point? Similarly, that concept is also here.
Yes.
Right? So if I have to now write a line, right? If I have to now write a line, kernel trick, technical line I'm writing allows us to operate, right, in the original feature space without computing the coordinates of data into higher space. Correct? Understood? Anyone has any confusion?
No.
Okay. But just for the sake of understanding, we have done few transformation and we have seen that yes, it is separable, which was non-separable in the original space. It became separable if we increase the dimension. Yes or no? Correct? Now you will say that Dhruv, in 3D also it may be separated. So instead of line, we can put a plane and then it is separated. But it is like you are touching your nose from the other side, right? Why will you go for a 3D when it is separable in 2D? If it was non-separable in 2D, then again it will go from 2D to 3D. If non-separable in 3D again, it will go to 4D till the time it gets separable. Yes, no?
Yes.
Also, here we are just seeing black and white. That means it is 100% separable. Then only we are saying separable. No. Classification, how does classification work? Based on the accuracy, right? If we are getting a good accuracy, that means let's say in 2 dimension, from 1 dimension to 2 dimension if it went, or from n dimension to n plus 1 dimension, and if the accuracy increased by 10% and we are happy with it, no need to go for further dimension. Yes, no? Manually I'm telling, but your algorithm will do it for you, that it will just return you the best classification. But how it works in the backend, you understood?
Yes.
Okay, let me make a bit more complex. Till now, again, I'm just repeating, till now what we have seen what are hyperplanes, right? And after that, how support vector machine actually draws the hyperplane, right? In which the margin should be maximum, right? Margin should be maximum. And that is how the kernel trick applies the formula, right? So once it applies, it needs to see that the separation should be maximum in the available space only. I cannot say that if the space between these two is this much and my kernel trick will do this much. No, no, only with this available space, it is ensuring that our margin is maximum. You understood? And then only it is drawing the hyperplanes or decision boundary. Okay, understood? Now let us make it a bit more complex. By that I mean, what if the plot, or what if you can say the data overlap, correct? So let's say if my data looks something like this, okay, let me draw it. Okay, so let me use different. This is one class, okay, and another class I'll draw from another. Okay, let's say this is my another. Okay, now I am just telling you that I'm not sure whether it is visible. Let me use another color for this. Okay, so let me just separate it. So roughly I'm separating it. Okay, I'm separating it by a line. Okay, just tell me. So I'll separate it by two lines. So let's say, or sorry. Okay, this is one line that I have separated by rough hand. Okay, let's say this, and another way of separating this is I am doing like this. Okay, correct? So this is another way of separation. So all this is basically a point. Okay, so which one will you choose? Which separator will you choose and why?
Second one, because of the accurate separation.
Again, see, there's a trade-off. You understand? This is what the overfitting looks like, correct? So if you are passing, if you're basically telling, so basically understand this, whenever we talk about any machine learning algorithm, it needs to generalize. So not at the points that you are looking for, but also the points that will come in future, right? It should be able to generalize. It should not go ahead with all the points. But yes, how will we regulate this? How much, that means this is there is some error. Here, the accuracy is 100%, but we have overfitted the model. So basically, here the tolerance is 0. Yes or no? Or perfect partitioning.
Yes.
Right? What about the first one? Right? For what? Outliers. So I'm just naming it outlier. Okay, these. So some tolerance for outlier, and here the tolerance is 0. The perfect So both are correct at its own place. Obviously, this is an overfitting, but still this is also a model, right? So basically, you will always have to work on a trade-off, right? So to regulate this, we have something called regulation parameter or regularization parameter. So regularization parameter. Right? So this is also called as gamma. Okay. Sorry, my bad. So currently we are only talking about regularization parameter. Okay. And gamma is a different thing. We denote this by C. Okay. Regularization parameter. We are going to see what are the another. So this is, you can think of it as a hyperparameter, right? Think of it as a hyperparameter. Now you understand. C. So if let's say what is if I talk about the first case, if I talk about the first case, what will it do? So if C is small, let's say, for example, we talk about, so I'm saying, let me write it here and then just tell me, right? So I'm saying if this value of C is large, right? So my model will choose small margin classifier. Right? Or if C is small, that means, just give me one moment. So if for large, if the C value of C is large or regularization parameter is high, the model will choose a small margin classifier. You know what is margin, right?
Yes.
If C is small, it will choose a large margin classifier. Correct? That means, let me, okay, tell me, where will misclassification happen, in large C or small C?
Small c.
Small c. Why? Because we are talking about large margin classifier. So you understand, whenever we are talking about the value of C as small, we will take the margin as bigger. So some outlier, we may miss the outlier, even though, you know, from both sides, so that, so you understand this. So for example, if there are some points which are outlier, right? I just want to, you know, I just want to not touch it. Okay, so what I'll do is I take the value of C small. Correct? Here I'm leaving the outliers. Here the tolerance is 0. That means C higher. So if the margin is smaller, that means perfect separation would be there, but you will try to inculcate the outliers also. You got my point? Then you will say, then which one you should choose, high value of C or low value of C. So in coding, we will treat it as a hyperparameter in which we will see different values of C, and then we will decide which value of C we have to. High value of C is also bad, low value of C is also bad. Okay, we have to get a trade-off, right? We have to get a trade-off between that. You got my point? So if I now ask you, right? Now ask you, you can say that this is low regularization. And this is an example of high regularization. So if someone asks you that if I keep on increasing the value of C, what difference I'll see. This is how you have to imagine that. Okay, so even it is not letting any misclassification happen, but it is kind of overfitting, if you see, right? And if there is low regularization, it is leaving out some points, which is also not good. So in between these two, we have to play, right? Which one is better? I don't know. Correct? You understand? It depends which one is better for you. Sometimes you want to have, you want to achieve 100% accuracy, or let's say you do not want to misclassify a point, in other words, then obviously you can go with high regularization. But if you want to build a robust model in which you want to your model to sustain even in future with a better accuracy, and you can go ahead with the accuracy of 85%, 90% also, then you can go ahead with low regularization. But for the exact value, you will always have to try, and that is what we are going to do when we see the code. Okay, you got my point? Okay, the another regularization parameter which I mistakenly tell at while explaining the, or sorry, the another hyperparameter is gamma. Okay, so another hyperparameter is gamma. So this is one hyperparameter, and the second hyperparameter I'm talking about is gamma. Right? So let's assume that gamma tells me that how far the influence of a single data point reaches. Correct? Now low gamma value, I'm just defining it first and then I'm explaining. So low gamma value means far. So far points are also considered. Far means distant point, and high gamma values right only nearby points. Just remember this. Okay, after that I'm explaining what does this mean. So suppose we spoke about lion and rabbit, right? So when we talk about gamma as low, that means point which is far away from the hyperparameter, or for that matter the support vectors, right, are, so I said high or low gamma. So let's say if I'm talking about low gamma, if I have assigned gamma value to be low, that means the rabbits or the lions which are far from the separation. So far, let's say there is one lion here, right? Lion here, and so this is a lion, and let's say a rabbit here, right? So this is a rabbit. Now I'm considering this point and this point also. Correct? So if I increase the value of gamma, right, that means I am considering only nearby points. That means I'll give more weightage to these points. Clear? Now what is the difference? I'll tell you what is the difference. Let's say, and this will be clear, let's say this is a rabbit. This is a group of rabbit, right? And let's say there are few outliers. This is a group of rabbit, and here are lions. So now I'll draw the lions in the circular shape without makeup, right? So this lion. Okay. Now these are what? My outliers. Correct? So I can consider this in the group or cannot consider this in the group. Yes or no? It is up to me. Are bolo yes, no?
Yes.
So if I remove it, what is going to be my margin? If I remove that, this is what the margin will look like. or I mean margin is obviously half, that means the total margin, or you can say this is the margin. But if I consider this, then what is the margin? If I consider this, then this is the margin.
Yes.
So if I consider gamma high, right, gamma high, then what will happen? It will give high weightage to the nearby points. It will consider this as a group of rabbit which is actually very far from this. So it will consider, and my margin will get shorter, correct? Instead, if we keep the gamma low, it will consider these points also, right, which is the actual group, and it will give some weightage to this, and then there because more rabbits are here, so my margin will widen. Yes or no? Obviously these will now these will not get separated into class of rabbit. Why? Because then it will be considered as a class of outlier. You got my point? Okay, let me repeat. I know you guys are so can I separate this as nearby point and this as distant point?
Yes.
So when I'm saying gamma is equal to low, that means what? It is considering far points also.
Yes.
Correct? So in addition to nearest point, it will consider far points also. Now this weight is more than this. Obviously it will try to shift the margin towards this side. Yes or no? Or support vectors towards this side.
Yes.
अरे separate कर रहे हैं ना. So my equation will think that this is the actual group. Why? Because the weight is more here and less here, right? So it will try to shift. Okay. So in that case, there will be some misclassification. These two will be misclassified. Yes or no?
Yes.
But you will get a good model, because anyways, where is your rabbit mostly lying? Here, not here, right? These are just the outliers. So in that way, which gamma value you should consider?
Only
Lower gamma value, please.
Okay. Let me make a simpler diagram. Then you will be able to understand. Okay. So I'm making two classes, right? I'm making two classes the way I did earlier, right? So this is one class, right? And this is another class, right? This is another class. And in between, there is a separator, right? Or hyperplane, okay? I am saying when I'm talking about high gamma, right? High gamma, only nearby points are considered. That means, you understand? That is like saying that I will only talk to the people who are living near the boundary. I will not consider people or the rabbits who are living far from the boundary. I'll consider this. This is the case on the both side, and I'm talking about what? Gamma, high value of gamma. When I'm talking about, so the influence on the margin and support vectors are basically by the nearby points. What if I talk about low gamma? The same data points, right? The same data points which I considered, right? The same data points. Now the margin and the support vectors will be based on
Distant.
distant. So it will consider the distant point also, not all the distant point. That means, see, again I'm saying low gamma means how much low I'm not defining, right? So on the basis of that, if you keep on decreasing, it will go far, and it will ask the distant point also. It will consider distant point also. You understand what I'm trying to say,
Yes.
right? So it will consider, so margin and all is considered based on all the distant point also, right? Correct?
Yes.
So low gamma means far distant points are also considered. Considered for what? For doing the separation, for making the hyperplane, for making the support vectors. Clear?
Yes.
What is a good margin? Okay, so what all things we have studied? Now let's revise and you guys will tell me. What is a hyperplane?
Separator basically between the classes.
What are support vectors?
Imaginary points separate passing through the
No,
closest.
not points.
Imaginary
Vector.
line passing
Line,
through the
pass-
point.
Vector. Talk in the terms of
Vector.
mathematics now, right? What else? What is kernel trick?
Precision margin.
Method to transfer or increase space
Some
dimension.
points to
Yeah.
higher plane.
Yeah, that is the answer, but still can be improved. Okay.
Yes.
What else we studied?
Precision
Regularization parameter. Right.
Yes.
Then gamma. Right. So in C, I said what?
Higher the regularization parameter, smaller the margin classifier.
Yes. Right. And
Lower the
smaller the margin classifier, and what the model is what?
overfitted. Basically.
Overfitted.
Overfitted. In gamma, low and high value, which I said that whenever I talk about gamma, that means I'm talking about if the gamma is high means
Considering only nearby points.
nearby points. And if low gamma
Yes.
means far away points are also considered.
Considered, right?
Right. So make sure that whenever you are using low gamma, your data set doesn't have outliers. Correct? Otherwise, since it is considering faraway points also, that means you are kind of exposing yourself to the outliers. Is it good? Yes, it is good. Only if you don't have the outlier in your data. Yes or no? What is margin? What is margin?
Distance between
Vectors from decision
So margin,
line.
you can think of it as a separation from my hyperplane to the nearest class points.
Class points, correct?
Correct?
Yes.
Now, what is a good margin? So largest margin is basically good margin. Right? Largest is a good margin, obviously, and both the margin needs to be equal. That you understood?
Yes.
Okay. So that is how we do the classification here in SVM or support vector machine. Now everything is clear, 100% clear. What are the two hyperparameters? These are the two hyperparameters, so-called, right? Okay. Now I'll take a moment and will tell you, right? We'll tell you the equation, right? Equation, how is it transformed, right? So just a bit of mathematics. Okay. You can skip it if you think that you are not from technical background, but still good to know, right? I'll make you explain those things. Okay. A bit of mathematics, right? All those things that we studied, a bit of mathematics, like a dose from my side. Okay. So what is the equation of a hyper plane, let's say in 2 dimension? In 2 dimension, you can think of it, let's say I'm talking about in 2D. What is the equation? Separator is a line, right? So you can write an equation of a line. So let's say beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 is equal to 0. This is, equation of hyperplane in 2D. Bolo na,
Yes.
in 2D. What about 3D? This will increase, right? This is 2 dimensions. So x3, if you write, that will be 3 dimension, right? So let's say in 3D, if I'm writing, so equation of hyperplane, right? In 3D, or let's say, okay, so let me write for 3D. So beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 is equal to what? 0. Okay. Now, what about p dimensions or n dimension?
Beta n xn.
Yeah. So beta 1 xn plus up to the plus beta n xn is equal to 0. Right. Now let's say we have a data point, right? Data point in the feature space. So what is my feature space? Feature space is called the space in which all your data points are currently lying, your current dimension. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Now let's say we have to do the classification, right? How will we do? So the classification is done, since this is a line, so it will divide it into 2 parts, beta naught plus beta 1 x1, right, plus up to the plus beta n xn greater than 0 and similarly less than 0. So this is one class and this is another class. Okay, so we will consider all the points which are above that line and below that line. Or sorry, line is not a right word. Which is the right word?
Hyperplane.
Hyperplane is the right word. And that is the reason, that is what you have to say. Correct? Another, okay, one more example I'll give and then we will stop. Okay, so let's say I'm just drawing another inseparable in the 2 dimension and which needs to get separated in higher dimension. You will see this example everywhere, but no one will give the 2 examples which I give. So everywhere you open kernel trick, you will get this, but still I am teaching. Okay, now is it separable in 2 dimensional space?
No.
Right, but if you convert it into 3D, this will look something like this. So let me just make it like this. So if you do, so the whole blue points will be like this and your red points will be like this. And then since it is a 3D, what is the separation going to be? A plane. Correct. So let me draw a plane in different color. So let's say this is how separation. Correct. This is one class. This is another class. So all the points which is lying below this one class, above this one class. Obviously here also support vectors would have made, right? But we have drawn only the hyperplane here. Otherwise it will look cluttered. You got the point? All these should be in your mind. All of this. Correct? Any confusion? Any confusion?
No.
No, bro.
Okay. If you don't have any confusion, can we quickly go ahead to the coding part?
Yes.
Dhruv,
I have one question. In regularization parameter, we have overfitting is point is there. With both the cases, we will go with the trade-off like that. Do we have with gamma also? Like which one is best, low or
Ah,
high?
so gamma is also one of the hyperparameters. So all the
Yes.
hyperparameters that you study in any of in your machine learning, usually you have to tune it. Yes or no? And
Okay,
that is the
so we
reason
need to find the best possible value.
best possible value for that data set. Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But you have to understand the requirement of your data, whether you want a low gamma value or a high gamma value according to your data. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Otherwise, it is going to be very tough for us. Okay. Just give me 1 second, guys. Do you want to take break or you want to continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Okay. Considering today Sunday, we'll try to finish it. I'll also upload the interview preparation documents for both stats and machine learning that I have made. So 100 questions in there you will have for machine learning and 50 questions for stats. So So 100 questions you have in machine learning along with the codes. So all the dummy codes without the data set, obviously 3-4 lines of code using sklearn for all the algorithm. Okay. And 50 questions, also some codes are also there in the stats. In stats, you have IQR and all method. So what these guys have done, LearnWay people, that 50 questions they have given in the document that I'll give you. And while that 50th question end, then they have put a link. If you click there, it will take you to their blog, and the rest 50 questions are there. Similarly here, 25 questions are in the document. What you can do is, you can copy the rest 50 question and 25 question here also in a document and convert that in a PDF and merge it. Can I expect that from you guys?
I've already done that.
Oh, you have that document?
Yes.
Okay, how from where you got it?
There on the website, I think I went through it.
All 100 questions are not there.
But it's like how you said, 50 questions, and then there's a link which takes you to another portal.
Is my name there?
1 second.
So see, this is the document I'm talking about. So the
Yes,
first,
it has your name.
it has now, then the same document. So all the codes you will see, right? For example, logistic regression, right? So this I have written just for your reference, right? Just for your reference. So top 50 questions would be here. Rest 50 they have given at last. I'll show you. So here, if you click, it will take you to their blog. From there, you can copy the rest 50 questions and you can prepare and merge it. Can someone do it and send me a consolidated file and consolidated PDF of 100 questions in machine learning? And this is proper waste of my time. These guys have made it very small. This is not good, but anyways, we have to go through it. Okay. So anyways, you have the code and this is the code only. क्या किया यार इन्होंने? How will I if I zoom it, it is not coming properly. Okay, try to make and send one document to me also. Okay, sometimes some people come and ask. Okay, so if you see, right, for example, top 100 questions, so it is starting from very basic, right? Bias variance, right? How can we have an optimum? So basically we have studied everything but theoretical parts, right? Theoretical parts of it. So your first reference is obviously going to be your notebook, because like the way we explained, sigmoid function is kind of not that explainable into this. So obviously you will reference to your class notes and then come here. Okay, assumptions and all, and at last you will have this confusion matrix, accuracy, precision, recall, specificity, F1 score, all those things. Okay, you can go through it. Okay, I'll upload this after this class, once I upload the SVM class notes also. Okay, let's quickly go into the SVM. Now, today's data set, I have tried with a voice sample data set, right? For example, let's say if I have to classify between a male voice and a female voice based on the different statistical variables given. So if you see, the variables looks like this: mean frequency, standard deviation, medium, Q25, Q75, IQR, skew, kurtosis, right? All those things, SPNT, I don't know, all these things, centroid, mean function, min function, max function, so all these things, right? So this is how the variable looks like, which is a combination of the variables as well as their statistical value. Okay, and the label looks like male or female, which is just the classification we had to do. Okay, you got the data set. What is the shape of the data set? We have more than 3000 rows and 21 columns, right? The columns looks like mostly in statistical form. Okay, let's see the correlation. So another way of looking at the correlation. So if you can see, this is the way we can see the correlation, right? So again, the diagonal will be one and another. Here it is very tough to see, very tough to see the things, correct? So that is reason it is always advisable to use what? Heat map, correct? If your data set
Yes.
is huge, if your feature is huge, then obviously we'll use the heat map. Also, color coding is also important there. So I'll suggest everyone to practice heat map a bit. Okay, with that, let's do null value check. So I saw that no null is there, right? And let's see the classes, right? So usually what used to happen is, I'll also talk about a bit about, let's say if number of male is too much more than number of female, then what will you do? In real scenario, let's say if in the same example, if the number of male was 3000 and female was 168, in that type of data set, how will you do the classification?
Majority will be on male only.
Majority will be on male, but how will you overcome this problem?
Doing the oversampling.
So you can do multiple ways of doing this. I'll discuss couple of ways. I think, did I discuss this in the pre-processing? I think I did.
No.
Is this what you call as imbalanced data?
Yeah, imbalance class, yes. So I can do oversampling of the minority class or undersampling of majority class. What is the minority class here?
Female.
Female. And what is the majority class? Male. So I can do either random oversampling of the minority class or undersampling of the majority class, right? Clear? Now oversampling, I don't have to do it till a level that both are equal. No, not at that level. I can choose to do it till 60% of the majority class, right? So that See, there could be a reason in which there is a imbalance in the class. That also we have to retain. We don't have to make it exactly 50-50%. So that there is no minority class, no majority class. You have to still keep the majority as majority and minority as minority. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And this is very simple. What is oversampling? How will you do oversampling? So let's say 168 I have, and I have decided to do the minority class till 60% of the majority, right? So what is the 60% of majority? 1800. Yes or no? $1800 ही है ना यार, बोलो.
Yes, yes.
Now approximately around 11 or let's say 12 samples इतना ही लेना पड़ेगा ना of all of it, right? Correct.
11 is fine.
हाँ. Or let's say 24 sample of 64 randomly selected. So पूरा नहीं करते हैं repeat. 64 randomly select करते हैं, उसको मैं 24 times repeat कर लेता हूँ. Got it? You got it? Yes or no? But for now, the it is 50%, exactly 50%. So we need not to worry about minority and majority class. Okay. Now feature selection, let's say label is, I just want to see, right? What is this that I am doing?
Selecting
What
all
is-
the columns except the last column.
And here?
Only selecting the last.
Last column, yeah.
Okay, cool. Now pre-processing, I can do like scaling and encoding, right? So that also you can, so for example, I have a, I can encode, right? Male and female into 0 and 1, right? So that I can do, correct? So here I have used label encoder. Another way of doing it is simply map M to 0 or M to 1, anything you can do, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And after that, scaling also I am doing. And for scaling, all of you know that I use standard scaler, right? So I'll fit and after that transform. So I'll do it, right, on the X, and then it will transform all the data set, right? After that, train, test, split. I'm coming on to the important part. Okay, so all of you know these things, right? How split is happening. What is the test size here?
20.2, 20%.
20%.
And that means training is 80. So 80-20 I have split it. Now I'm starting the SVM with default hyperparameter, right? I haven't passed any single parameter into this. So what I have done is I have just imported SVM and import support vector classification, right? And metrics I have imported, okay? And I have, after that, I have instantiated SVC, correct? Okay. And after that, I have fitted to train X train, Y train, okay? And I have predicted. What is the accuracy here? Even without putting a hyperparameter, what is the accuracy?
97%.
97%, which is a very good accuracy, right? Very good accuracy. But let's go ahead, since we have to learn, right? Since we have to learn how to tune the hyperparameters or what are the different elements with support vector machine, that is the reason we have to go ahead and see, right? Different. So let's, I tell you, in real life, it will sound funny, but in real life, you will try out with different hyperparameters. Although you know what does low gamma will do to your separator, or your high value of regularization parameter C will do to your value, right? Still you use all the values. This is very funny but true, and that is why in data science we call it no free lunch. Yes, while explaining you can tell that this is, I think, works best, but still you have to try out. So here I have tried. Start with the first thing that we have here. I haven't passed any parameter. Here I am now explicitly saying that which kernel I am using. Linear kernel. Another kernel can be polynomial kernel. Another kernel can be RBF, radial basis function or Gaussian, we apply that onto the Gaussian distribution, right? So I have just changed the kernel to linear and see the accuracy. Though it has decreased, but you got to know that, okay, in linear also it is not so bad. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Acha, can someone see this? The default value of gamma will change from auto to scale in version 0.22 to account better for unscaled features, right? So usually what is happening is sklearn is keep on revising itself, right? So if you don't have the scale, if you don't have the scale data, the gamma itself will take or scale it, right, before application. Set gamma explicitly to auto or scale to avoid this warning. So you need to set it. For now I haven't set anything in gamma. I haven't even did that, right? So that is the reason it is showing me the warning, right? And it is always good to read the warning so that you are aware of the recent advancement that happened in the model. Okay, clear? Similarly, here I got this much score. Again, I'm changing the kernel to polynomial kernel, right? Again, my accuracy reduced, right? Accuracy reduced. That means what is the default default kernel in sklearn?
Linear.
How can it be linear? Think about it. Can it be linear?
No.
Hmm?
No.
Can you scroll down a bit? Yeah.
So if you go to the documentation, right, the default parameter, or sorry, default parameter used for kernel is RBF. So the full form is radial basis function, used for what? Gaussian distribution or normal distribution, right? So RBF is there, linear is there, polynomial is there, so we call it poly, right? After that, we have sigmoid also. You know sigmoid? All of you know, right? Sigmoid is also there, and they keep on adding. But usually we work out with these three. But still, you have the accuracy score in front of you. You can apply all the kernels that you go ahead and see in the documentation, and you can see wherever your accuracy is based. You can think of it as a default kernel, or you can apply grid search CV. Yes or no? Correct.
Yes.
Coming on to our next part, optimization of hyperparameter C. So what I'll now do is, I'll now write a function in which I'll put a range of C. I don't know the exact value, and I said you should also not know. So what I'll do is, I'll put the value of C from 1 to 25, and then I'll pass the value of C as C, this, right? And then I'll see what is the score, right? What is the score? And score I'm not able to read. So what I'll do is, I will plot the scores. Where do you think it is high? At 1 itself. Yes or no? Are 1 pe hi hai na? Maximum
1
is at
and 7.
Forget about
7.
7. So if we have got the exact value, exact same value at 1, why will go till 7? So what
At
I'll do
1.
is, now I'll reduce the value of C. This is how you will do. So now we have got that around 1 only I'm getting the maximum. Now thoda sa aur kam karte hain, right? What I'll do is, now I'll start from 0.1, right? What does A range does? NumPy to pada hoga na, A range.
Yes.
What does A range do?
It'll give a
On the
Sorry.
open.
Create an array
1,
with that range we supply.
Huh?
Create an array for the range we supply.
Yeah. So can you tell me what if I have passed 0.12 and 0.1, what does that mean?
It will start from
Yeah.
point 1 to
Uh-huh.
2 and step is point 1.
0.1. So it will check for me for each 0.1 step, and it will start from 0.1 and will check everything till 2. So basically, I know that it is maximum 1, but I just want to start from 0.1, which is 10th part of 1, and then going till 2. So 1 will come in between. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just want to see again what is maximum. So I have started with 0.1. Again, I can see that it is still maximum at 0.1. Yes or no?
Yes.
Correct. Now I'll again go into finer detail. Now I'll start from 0.0001 and we'll go till how much? Till 100, though I'm saying till 100, but I'm just trying to see at which particular part my accuracy is better. Okay. So again, I'll see, and let's see if I have got like this. Okay. This is the function. So it is decreasing further. It has increased. It reached up to a level and then it is decreasing. Okay. Clear? So can we get at what particular range, right? Oh, sorry, my bad. So here, let's say here, what is the value that we have to take is 0.1. Let's say we took 0.1. If you want to further drill down at exact level of C, you can further make it shorter. Yes or no?
Yes.
You can just reduce the start point, the step size and all, and you will get to know. Okay, this is how we get to know the hyperparameter C. But if you, I would have just explained the hyperparameter C here only, you would not have believed or you would not have understood what is the actual thing that C takes care of, which was visible there, right? But how you will select the value of C, you understood?
Yes.
So what is the value you will select by looking at this graph?
0.1, which is the max.
0.1.
Point
For now 0.1, but let's say if you further want to go ahead and drill down, you can further go ahead and see an exact value you can find out. But for now, let's settle that, you know, the accuracy is best at 0.1, and that is the reason I'm selecting 0.1. Okay. Now let's talk about gamma. You said someone spoke about that, let's say gamma. So low value of gamma, what was it telling me? अरे लो वैल्यू क्या बता रहा था?
Far point.
Far and near.
Outclass.
Right, far distant point are also considered, right? That means that keeping that concept in mind, but we won't apply that concept here. We are 100% dependent upon the accuracy score. Yes or no? Or for that matter, if precision is useful for you, then obviously precision. If recall is useful for you, then recall. You got my point? So what I'm giving is, again, I'm just choosing the gamma in a particular range. And again, I'll see where the value is maximum. And this is my accuracy. Yes or no? Correct? So in a way, but here it is kind of not visible, 100% visible. So what I can do is, I can do same way I have did for C, right? I'll just shorten the value and we'll see. Now you got the idea of how to select gamma and C.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't have to be 100% correct, you understand? Believe me. So even if it is approximately in that range, you can select that. Okay, it is not falling drastically, right? So even if you take this or a bit less than, then also it is fine. Okay, clear? But if you are working in a production environment, obviously what you will do, you will work out with having a greater accuracy. Then grid search CV will come to you for rescue. And then we will just pass the value of C from 0.01 to 1. and then we'll give the step size as 0.01. Kernel, let's say linear I am giving, okay? Or you can give multiple kernels, or here I am giving RBF, here I am giving polynomial, okay? So here with linear kernel, this is the, this is the range that I want my C to try. This is the range in which I want my C to try with RBF kernel, and here I'm giving gamma also in degree. So what is the degree? So whenever I'm giving the polynomial as a kernel, I have to give degree also. Correct? Why? See, if I don't give, then it will keep on going till 6th degree, 7th degree, 8th degree. What is degree of a polynomial?
Degree of x.
Number of dimensions.
Highest power.
Highest power. So let's say if I'm talking about a polynomial called x4 plus x cube y plus x square y square plus y cube plus y4. Okay. What is the degree of this polynomial?
4.
Which is basically the highest power, right? So I'm just telling that linear is already there. So polynomial starts from 2. You can go start with 2, 3, 4, 5. Do not go beyond that, right? So try till here, and then just give me the best, model. So I'm just importing grid search CV and just passing this tuned parameter list, cross validation k-fold, that is 10-fold, and scoring on the basis of accuracy. You can do scoring on the basis of, let's say, precision, recall, like that. Okay. And this is the best score I have got. And what is the best parameters? C came out to be 0.99, degree 3, gamma 0.05. And obviously, if degree has come, then which kernel has performed best? Polynomial. And then what you will do? Once you have got all the hyperparameters which performed best, you will pass all the hyperparameters as it is in SVC, and you will get, see, still the accuracy has decreased a bit, right? Accuracy has decreased a bit, only by a small margin. The reason you understand is because you are here. What is the thing that we have tried for? I have fitted for training, and here I have predicted for testing, right? So obviously there is going to be a bit of difference, and that difference is visible. So do not get confused, right? So if you apply that in the training, the accuracy score will be same. Small bit of change can be there because of the cross validation, right? Because every time randomly it selects, so n time you will run, a bit of accuracy here and there will happen. Any confusion till here?
Dhruv, how did we get the value of gamma as 0.01? How did we start? I mean,
that is same, na? You can give it in a range, and then you will find out what is the, at which particular value, let's say 1, 2, 3, third value is the highest, yes or no? Third value highest hai na?
yes.
In all the values that I have tried. So what is the third value?
Okay.
So see, it is up to, this is how I have given. You can give in a range. That is a better method. You can start a loop and can exactly see at what value you are. You remember the way we did the gradient descent, our first class? Cost function. That way you can also print all the, at all the gamma range, and you can see what is the accuracy and just select the best. That also you can do. So it is up to you. The only thing is that you have to compare gamma and then accuracy, gamma, accuracy at all the values, and you can select anything which is coming out to be better. Okay. And here I have passed a value, and my grid search has given me the best parameter. Okay.
Okay.
And what is the best parameter for gamma, which grid search has given me? Grid search will also understand this. This is not the best parameter overall. This is the best parameter out of which you have passed. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So it is up to you how much you want to pass. Okay, if you increase the range, obviously grid search CV will take more time, right? So time complexity will increase, bit of space complexity will increase, right? So this is the accuracy you've got for test. Okay, so good accuracy of train and test, right? And after that, you all know confusion matrix, right? Plotting this, recall, precision, and your AUC, correct? Then predicted data, and let's say you have predicted data, then you will just put a new column predicted, and then you will pass that. Okay? And then I have, what does this do? This function
Writes the
You're saving the data into CSV.
CSV. So
Local.
prediction, sometimes you have to save into the CSV. Also, do not forget to replace whatever we have mapped, right? So one way is to simply replace like this, or another way is to inverse transform. Yes or no?
Yes.
Correct. So anyway, you can, since it is just the two classes, so you can do like this also. Even while encoding, instead of using label encoder, you could have simply encoded manually if there is two. I'm just telling you two ways to do that. Okay. Any confusion till here in C, gamma, how to select the value, how grid search review worked, what is the best parameter, what is the kernels, anything, how SVM works, and again, subsequently kernel trick and all. Any confusion?
No, it's clear.
No. Just one question, Dhruv. How do we decide, because grid search CV would take a lot of time. So, if we deploy our program, it would run like every time, right?
Hmm.
So how do we give a range? Do we first manually?
No, it won't run every time. See, deployment you will do for this, understand this. Once you have decided that this is your best parameters, so you will, what is your model? Your model is now hard coded using these best parameters. Yes or no?
Yes.
So why will it run again and again? It won't, right?
So could it be that if the data changes drastically or something,
then you will have to retrain. At that time, it will rerun. Yes.
and I also read about random search CV.
So any of those grid search CV is mostly used. Okay. But if you want to use any other such thing, so randomized search CV is also there. But the crux of the matter is it will find out the best parameters for you. Right. And to
Right.
answer your question, what you said is, let's say if I don't want to run the grid search CV, right? So grid search CV we did here, but before that, even if I'm not running the grid search CV, if I ask the question, which kernel gave you the best result? RBF?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Correct? See, grid search CV helps us in combination, right? But individually we can also see, right? What is the value of C where we are getting the best accuracy? What is the value of gamma where we are getting the best accuracy? So you can combine these three, yes or no?
Yes.
Or if we are using the polynomial, we can give the degree 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then get what is the best we are getting. And then C value we have, gamma value we have. Kernel is polynomial, degrees, let's say 2, 3, 4, whatever we get, right? So that is how you select also manually. So manually also we have done before applying.
Yeah.
I just said, right? So anyways, you can do in any way. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions, concerns? Yes, no. Guys.
No.
Okay. If you don't have any questions, so I think machine learning part is over. Okay. I hope I was able to justify your time that you devoted in my class. Okay. And sorry.
It was very fruitful.
Okay. So I know I scold you guys too much about speaking, but believe me, all the questions, cross questions that I asked, whether you answered it or not, is going to repeat in the interview. And even if you have spoken by yourself to answer the questions in the mind, even in the mind, then you would be able to answer that in the interview, right? I'm hoping that. Okay, at least revise the things properly. You know everything, right? But revision is necessary. Okay, keep on discussing the things, and whatever comes next, right, keep on top of your confidence and your concepts. Okay, and also one last advice from me: though there are so many guided projects going to be helped by LearnWave for you guys, always do a couple of projects on your own without anyone's help, believe me. And you can compare the confidence after you do that. It is going to change the perception, believe me, right? So just try it yourself, and that is the reason from starting day I was always relying on, I was always forcing you guys almost to do something on your own. But now once you will get time, please do this. Okay. And yeah, and I think your batch is the longest that I took because in between we had some hiccups, right? We had Christmas holiday, and in between I shifted also, right? So I shifted my home in Bangalore, so I took a week off. So yes, few hiccups and few here and there, but here we are. uh, I hope I was able to justify your time, and most importantly, I was able to build the concepts. I tried to give it in the way which will keep in your mind for longer period of time, but still please do revise. And please reach out to me, not only for machine learning, for any kind of concerns you have in data science or in general life. Okay, you can reach out to me. And yes, that's all from my side. If anyone wants to say anything, most welcome, and then we'll finish today's class.
Like Dhruv, like we have found this model. Like the last thing will be accuracy of precision recall. Based on that, we do. So what happens to this thing, like deployment? Can you brief it about it?
Deployment, I did not get your question. What you are asking?
Like till now, we find the model accuracy kind of thing. No, last thing. So how the company uses this?
Okay, so for that, let's say once you have built the model, right? So the model, let's say, what is the model here? So you have named your model as, I think, SVC. Okay, let's see. You have
Yes,
named your
SVC.
model SVC. Now, what in real time, what it does is, once you have built your model, trained model, you keep it in form of pickle file. There are multiple ways, one of the which I am explaining. Let's say you will keep it as a pickle file. Now, why keep a pickle file is there are multiple use of it. One is security. So I'll stick to that till the time you will have your deployment class. So all of you know, right, that you will have a deployment class which is not in my domain, but someone else will take, right? But since, because you are curious, I'm just telling you. And that pickle file you will deploy, right? So you will deploy. Now what happens is you will build a pipeline, right? From your data will come and your model will apply, and you will get the result. The result you want to showcase in Excel, or let's say in Power BI, or you want to take it out in some form or the other, it is up to you, right? But once you have got the model, right, you can use it in any unseen data. Yes or no? So I only want the model. So only thing that I will take away from this whole thing is this, right? Correct? My final
Yes.
model. Okay, not even this, just the name, or you can say just that variable in some form. Okay, that will do the thing for me. Okay, understood? You will have separate deployment class. I think someone else will too. Someone else will take this deployment class. Okay, using AWS or GCP or Azure, any of the cloud platform, they will that also. After that, Power BI class will also be there, in which you will be shown how to showcase the results in Power BI. Okay, charts, your accuracy, precision, recall, confusion matrix, all those things. Okay.
Dhruv,
So
I have
Dhruv,
a small question.
Mhm.
In the EDA class, we spoke about left skewed and right skewed data. So it asked us to check what happens if data is left skewed. So which transformation you would use. So I just read up about it online and says there is cube root, square that you can use. So
Sorry,
you just
what you saying?
you can either do a cube root for
Uh-huh.
data or a square root for left
Yes.
skewed data.
Yes.
So
Left
just want
skewed
to
data, right?
understand at what, I mean, based on what criteria should we choose, or just look at the distribution afterwards and then decide?
Yeah, look at the distribution afterwards. That is the right way. I think you are the only one who actually did this. Anyone else look into this? Has any other concept than what she said about the left skewed? For right skewed, I explained, right? If you take the log, it actually transforms your data and it nullifies the effect of right skewed. What about left skewed? She said third root or square root.
Root or square.
Cube root or square root, right? Anyone else has any other way? I don't think people have seen, but this is the way, right? So if it is higher, skewed at a higher level, then obviously what? Cube root, otherwise square root. But it is mostly should be based on the result that you get, right? Anyone else was asking any question?
yeah, I was asking about we studied principal component analysis. So independent component analysis, anomaly detection. Uh, so are we going to do that as well? Independent component analysis. What is that?
So see, principal component analysis we understood, right?
Yes.
So in all others, you have LDA, ICA, you can use any other method in the same way. You have DB scan also. We cannot go ahead and see in all the variations of it, but you got to know I took the mostly used. So in dimensionality reduction, PCA is mostly used, right?
Okay.
But still, if you feel that at some point, no one asks, first of all, right? But yes, in some ways, obviously you will use. If you feel that you personally want to, if you are doing something and you are using that, you can approach me, right?
Right.
And we can discuss about this. So I'm not
Okay.
going anywhere. I'm here only. Okay. So you can always approach me with any concept related thing or anything related, right?
Okay. So what are we like having after this? Are we directly?
That Apurva will let you know. Okay. So
Okay.
understand this. After this, the things that are left in no particular order, how they will take is you have to talk to them. NLP is left, deep learning is left, a bit of deep learning, right? So NLP text analytics, after that deep learning, after that what else? Okay, deployment class, after that big data class, after that SQL class, after that Tableau Power BI class, right? If I remember,
I was like asking in
a
machine
bit of all
learning,
this. Huh?
time series and all. Will
Time
that?
series will also be taken care by someone else.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Also, online, I see a lot of talk about XGBoost and ADA boost and all. And
ADA boost we did, right?
Yeah,
ADA boost I
double.
explained, weak learners, strong
Yeah.
learners,
Yeah.
stamps, right? Few things you guys also do now, right?
Yes.
And also see, I am saying that start working on anything if you feel that that is important for you, right? So, and if you feel that you are underconfident and if you are not able to do, please reach out to me or whoever you feel like reaching out to. Please reach out. Everyone is there to help, right? I schedule one-on-one sessions, so I'm not going away. After this, I'll be probably taking your CV session, your interview session. So I usually take mock interviews also, right? So till that time, I'll not leave you. But you have to understand that this is the bare minimum. So this is not the end. This is the starting of a data science career, correct? There are multiple things to learn in future, right? In deep learning also, in NLP also, right? So you are, if you study NLP only, that is of like 2 years, 3 years, you can go on research, right? But this is minimum time, maximum approach. That is what our approach was. And whatever we have taken you through, please go through that first, strengthen it, and then just think about what you need to get into a role, or for example, whatever your aim is. And then if you feel that something else is left, we will take care of that. Let's say, if, as I said, if all of you decide that, okay, no, these are the two things that I think is necessary for us, right? Please reach out to us. We will be taking that session. Rest assured. Okay. It is not that I'm writing it off. You can anyways repeat my session, anyone else's session, or you can always request for few other modules also to be covered. Does that clarifies
Right.
concerns?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
One more thing, like we studied most of the classifiers. Few of them we also saw that they can also be used in regression as well. So should we like practice it like as a regression as well, or just as a classification algorithm, which is it is mostly used?
So see, mostly it is used for classification, but if you want to go ahead with regression, then also you can use. See, knowledge is never, you should never ask this question, right? If you want to explore how, let's say, decision tree works, decision tree in regression, if you want to grow a tree for regression, right? So as I said, while explaining, I said, for example, classes we take in the form of voting, right? And what if regression? We just take the average, correct? Yes. So that's all. So let's say if you have a real value, right? For example, any value, some mathematical value is there, right? Continuous value. Now that 96, 95, 94, like that, after each node, right? In each leaf node, what will you do? You cannot consider it as a class since it is a regression. So what will you do? You will take an average of all of it, right? Clear? That is the way we do. So this is just a simple concept, and then you grow a tree. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions, guys, or concerns?